Hello DragonCrafters, this is Warcrow from DragonCraft Productions and welcome to another video. This time we'll be looking at Gone Home and answer this question. Should you play it or not? Gone Home is an anti-walking simulator game that follows the point-and-click adventure style. The story is rather short, but it's an amazing story to compensate for that. The story is set in the 90s and it's based around a 17-year-old teenager, Sam Greenbrier. The story is told through voice journals you can find as you progress on with the game, where Sam narrates her life and major events that render her vulnerable, especially when you consider when the game actually takes place. But let's take things from the beginning, shall we? You play as Katie Greenbrier and you return home after a year of being abroad. Instead of a warm welcome from your family, you are greeted with an empty house and a note from your sister, Sham, that she has left and she doesn't want you or your parents to go looking for her. Puzzle, you find the spare key to your house and enter. Then, your quest to find out just what the hell has happened begins. At first, one might feel overwhelmed by the big house and the lack of anything to guide him to the next part of the story. However, I feel like this was intended so you can go at your own pace and progress as you see fit. The house does indeed feel like a house from the 90s, and a lot of the older folks, like me, will feel almost nostalgic about it. The atmosphere is further bringing you back to that age, but they see detail of everything there. You can find cassette tapes and listen to them to the various recorders around the house. The cans and cereal boxes you find in the set or kitchen are ripe with how we used to have them back in the day, and there are a shit ton amount of telephone dictionaries. Literally everywhere. It might seem a bit boring as you go on with this, but when you find the first journal from Sam, things start to change. The story begins as Sam describes her new life at her new school and how she's treated for living at her new house, which used to be a facility for psychopaths, or at least it's viewed that way by the general public. Then she meets Lonnie and everything changes. I really don't want to go further in the story as that is the main point of the game itself. What I can assure you, however, is that this story is well worth the time you're putting into this game, despite you could probably clear it in under an hour if you're determined. What I can share about the plot is that it's a heartwarming story that sheds light on a very specific problem a lot of teenagers had back then, and it's somewhat true to this day, as many are frowned upon and get bullied for their choices. I also want to add that through your interaction with various objects in the game, you can find subplots for the remaining members of the family, especially the fathers. That was an amazing addition to the overall experience. Speaking of setting lights, I was rather impressed with how the lamps and generally light sources work in the game. The shadow they cast is spot on. In general, a lot of work was put into the small details of Gone Home, especially the various letters you find, which are handwritten, really give you the feeling of a teenager writing them, and that will make most people smile and chuckle, as they truly reflect that age. The photos are realistic and they add to the narration of Gone Home. What I couldn't understand, however, is that every object's place is right where you find them, not where they're supposed to be. For example, if you pick up a fork from the ground, you are then given the options either to throw it away to a different place or place it back on the floor, where the game believes that to be the right place for a fork to be. Also, something that made me chuckle was what I named the vacuum space. I discovered this bug in various places, but Sam's bed was the most hilarious one. When I dropped something in her bed, it just vanished. The voice acting of Gone Home is wonderful. I loved the narration of Sam, and it was the first thing I truly noticed in this game and written down in my notes. It's a sweet and melancholic voice that shares her story with you. The general soundtrack, however, is not that good in my opinion. The cassette tapes you find are generally songs from bands that are tailored for a very specific group of teenagers, something I couldn't bear to listen for more than a few seconds, but everyone has their own preferences in music, so I'm not judging here. The most negative thing I could find is definitely the price of the game. For what is asked for, Gone Home is way too short to explain or even justify it. Although it was developed by the people who created Bioshock, it's still not enough. All in all, Gone Home is a game that you should play, but you should wait for a sale in order to get it, otherwise it's way overpriced. However, I definitely recommend you getting it someday, as it's a fantastic small gem in the world of indie games, one that cannot pass unnoticed when you compare it to similar titles. Thanks for watching, folks. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Tell me in the comments below if you felt nostalgic when you played it, and felt a bit old, like I did. Have a good one.